Well, today I'm digging in the heart of Toronto's downtown west. I'll be visiting two shops, and of course, whenever I'm here in Toronto and looking at records, it's hard not to think of our dear old friend Alan Zweig and his groundbreaking documentary Vinyl, which featured many Toronto collectors in the late 90s, and also a documentary that I studied in film school. That's how old I am now, unfortunately.
It's not that I have too many records to listen to them, it's that I'm buying too many records to listen to them.
So anyway, first up, here is the mothership of Canadian physical media, Sonic Boom Records. They've been around since 2001. The last time I was here, it was actually over by Honest Ed's on Bathurst, and I was there to see an indie wrestling match inside the shop, as crazy as that sounds. But anyway, here today you can see they are occupying this massive two-story space right here on Spadina. And to be honest, when I first walked in, I was a little bit confused. Is it just me, or does this not look like an airport kiosk? I've never been in this location, so it took me a minute to figure out that the records are actually all located in the basement. Otherwise, this would not look like Canada's largest record store. So, as you can see, there's quite a few records and CDs down here. Here's a stage. They do live performances in here quite regularly, and in fact, they have the whole stage rolled out to do a live performance here today, which you're going to see has had quite an impact on the making of this video, as here I am looking for the country section. Why am I not finding it? Well, that's because all of these shelves have been moved into the t-shirts to make way for the stage. So here I am digging through the Chet Atkins records. When I came in, I told them, I've come about an hour today from outside of town just to come to the shop to look at the country records. And she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but we've moved everything for the show today, and there's nothing I can do about it." She just left me on my own. So I decided to just start digging anyway, as best as I could, through what country records I could get at. And as you can see, there's quite a few Chet Atkins records here. This one here features most of that record with Brother Jim Atkins, the one I like so much that I've talked about on the channel. And this is one of the very first Chet Atkins albums, Fingerstyle Guitar. That is also a great album, the other Chet Atkins we were just looking at. And a couple of these records from the late 80s, early 90s. There's one that has a really good song on it. It's called Cosmic Square Dance. And I was looking for it but couldn't find it. There's the Brother Sings. My brother Jim Sings album. Just $10 used. Great price, great record. Kind of a must-have record, I think, for anyone collecting vintage country and anyone that is into Chet at all. We've found this section. So again, this is not really in alphabetical order. It's kind of all over the place because the country section was all discombobulated, and I just got through what I could get through. Here's some Tammy Wynette records. We're at miscellaneous country folk here now. Wow, this record here, Jimmy Driftwood. This album cover was featured in the book Vinyl Hayride, which is a book entirely dedicated to album covers of vintage country western records. Really great coffee table book. And Jimmy Driftwood is great. I love his stuff. I don't have that record. I think I have those songs on another compilation, but don't actually have that record, so yeah, I might pick that one up. Prices are pretty good here. And what I'm liking so far is that I'm finding a lot of stuff. I'm finding a lot of vintage country in a location where you wouldn't expect that they would have a big demand for country, for vintage country. In fact, a lot of record shops you go into literally just have no country records, especially the smaller shops. I went into a couple of shops on this trip that had a section of about 5 or 10 records. That was their entire country section. And then they had a whole room dedicated to, like, you know, dub and DJ kind of singles and techno and everything. Of course, a big Hank Snow section here because we're in Canada, so we got lots of Hank Snow records to pick from. And they have a mix of the newer artists as well. They've got modern stuff as well as the vintage. There's a record I have, Right or Wrong. That one's not really that collectible. This is kind of funny. If you want to own your favorite George Strait Apple playlist on vinyl, I don't know why anyone would want that, but someone does, probably. Of course, another Canadian Shania Twain classic. Shania Twain album, $37 for a reissue, a sealed reissue. Bunch of Conway records. Nice to see vintage country western music, country western records out here on Spanina. Look at all these Porter Wagoner records. Not a big Porter Wagoner fan. There's a couple of good records of his. Of course, the album covers are legendary, some of the most legendary. Curly Chalker plays on one of these records. I think it's this one, maybe. I can't remember. And yeah, I just can't remember which one, but I know Curly plays on one of the records, and I have streamed it before. Actually, none of the classic album covers are featured here, are they? Carroll County Accident, that one has one of the classic kind of dramatic covers. Another Canadian folk singer, Coulter Wall from Saskatchewan. Few Doc Watson records to choose from. We've got some Hank Sr. stuff here. Looks like a pretty old Canadian pressing. Assuming it's a Canadian pressing, of course, because we're here in Canada. The classic album. One of my all-time favorite country records. If you're not a big country fan, but you're just getting into classic country, that record there, Hank Wilson by Leon Russell, that is a must-have record. That's a record you could start with. They don't get much better than that for vintage, honky-tonk, country western. A bunch of Willie records. Of course, every shop that has records and has country will have a stack of Willie Nelson records because he's been around for 300 years and put out 7,000 albums. This is a great Newfoundland Canadian country folk singer, Dick Nolan. Really great. His original's really great, in fact. These are all covers. On the Arc label, famous Canadian album, we've got the New South here. Yeah, $60. So, keeping with the program and everything I've been pitching to you about Bluegrass records, a $60 price tag on a used New South record definitely fits with what we've been talking about here. These old Webb Pierce records look very, very easy on the eyes. These old vintage Webb Pierce records. Ken Pomeroy, that's a name I know. We've got William Prince here, another Canadian folk singer. Spends quite a bit of time in Toronto. Carly Pearce. And yeah, more Apple playlists for spinning on your turntable. That's another Carly Pearce record. I stopped here because I don't know this artist, but she is very good looking. And every time I came across one of her records, I just paused and couldn't stop staring at it. I thought, is she doing classic country kind of stuff, or what's going on? I assume not. I assume it's pop country probably, but very good looking person. Old timey stuff. You can see that there's quite a bit of selection here, really, for country. So I was the moral of this story is that I was quite pleasantly surprised, actually, with the selection here at Sonic Boom. We got the Tony Rice Unit Acoustics, $40. Very nice. Actually, haven't seen that one before. Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect for vintage country and bluegrass, as you can see. I knew there'd be a big jazz section. I knew there'd be all kinds of electronic and rock and Pink Floyd and everything else. But now this, unfortunately, fails the true test, which is when you see the wrong Jimmy Rogers in the country section, because that Jimmy Rogers there we were just looking at did not make country music, but usually you will see most of his records in the country bin because people don't realize that there were two Jimmy Rogers, and one was a country singer, one was not. Well, speaking of Alan Zweig, here's his favorite album, Satan is Real by the Louvin Brothers, $70 for an original pressing, or a vintage pressing at least. I don't believe this is a reissue. Or is it, actually? Hold on. Light in the Attic Records, well, it has to be. Maybe it's an older reissue. Maybe it's one from the 90s. $70. Well, that's what they go for, I guess, evidently. There's a couple more random items I found. Interesting items. Rusty and Doug Kershaw. Two Handsome Gentlemen. Man, how much for that? Can't tell. So now I'm over in the cheap bin. And I would like to say that the cheap bin here has dollar records, which is how a cheap bin should be. $1, $2 records. That's what a cheap bin should consist of. This is a Porter record I've never seen.
Okay, you know what? Are we almost done?
Joe Maphis Gospel Guitars. I've been to some record shops on this trip where the cheap bin consists of records that are all $10 each. And that seems ridiculous. Now, Sukyin Lee, you see her picture here. She was the one that was actually performing. So, here's the record I walked away with. Chet Atkins fingerstyle guitar, $4.99 for this original pressing. It's a VG Plus, a disc inside there, so real happy with that. And yeah, overall, very good experience. Here's my grading for Sonic Boom Records. VG Plus, all VG Pluses, including friendliness. Well, we could have given him a VG for friendliness, I suppose. Shop number 2 takes us just a short walk up the street to the outskirts of the Kensington Market. This is She Said Boom Records, located at 372 College Street. It opened in the late 90s, and it's a legendary neighborhood staple. Really captures the old school Toronto bohemian culture. It's a hybrid shop, of course. It's a half bookstore and half curated vintage vinyl. First thing you'll notice is the very awesome ambient background music, this abstract sort of jazz that I really, really loved. And I mean that not facetiously, I mean that honestly. We've got some compact discs. And this is the country section. This is the small but mighty country section here. We got Stompin' Tom. Bobby Bear. And this store packs a lot of punch for a little shop. This is an awesome record. Now, I actually picked this record up just last week in Bangkok, but I did not get it on this trip. This record here is something I'm really into. George Jones and Melba Montgomery. Yeah, I need something by them on vinyl. $15, that's a contender for me, for sure. Some box sets. Waylon, more Chet. Yeah, I like the vibe in this shop, for sure. Very different from Sonic Boom. Very cozy. We got Boom Creek here. This has got Ricky Skaggs on it, I believe. $15. More of our favorite bluegrass kind of vinyl. I'll show you everything they got here. It's just not a big... Now this record I've seen about...
This is the third time I've seen this record in Toronto.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And I bought a copy of it at the first record store I went to. That's like the popular Toronto country album, I guess.
I guess so.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Try not to talk over myself
That
here.
is cool. This guy was a wrestler. He was a professional wrestler.
Who's this?
Sweet Daddy Siki.
Oh, okay.
And he
Yeah,
made he made a couple of country records. Actually, he used to play here in Toronto. I'm sure he's dead now, but he used to actually do like Sunday afternoon gigs, even when he was like in his like 80s, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's when we retire.
Mm-hmm.
From my previous monologue, I forgot that I had done
It's
that.
actually the same album that I bought. It's just a different
Cover art.
it's a different like pressing of it. Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Connie rocked. Teenager Dole. Oh, that's a great record. Second time I've seen that record here too. Down Home.
You have a good company with me here at She Said Boom, so I'm giving her a running dialogue live in the shop.
Okay.
Prices are pretty good here as well. $10 on a lot of this stuff, very reasonable, especially Canadian money. That's only about $7 American.
Oh, really? Whoa, we're not even close to the weekend.
I don't even know what it is. It's just like indie music, but I don't know what it is. I think this. They're like film songs sometimes. And
Yeah.
they're
He looks familiar.
singers sometimes. I think these are singers, specific singers.
Bunch of cassettes there. I ended up picking up this George Jones and Melba Montgomery, What's in Our Heart. Haven't listened to it yet, but very happy to have a copy of this. That's the record I took away. I think it was $15. I feel like I bought two records here, but no, I guess it was just that one. And yeah, overall, very, very cool shop. The owner was very sweet, very nice, and highly recommended. Here's my rating for She Said Boom. Near mint on ambiance and VG Plus all around as the last shop. Really hard to compare the two because they are so different. two completely different options for you there in the west end of Toronto. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll have some other videos up from this trip shortly.